welcome to the River Shaman Ramblings podcast, where you're going to just listen to me do a lot of rambling, usually about myself or some story I have to share, so that I can hopefully pass the information that was given to me growing up to other people, but in a more traditional way that I was raised in, which is basically with a lot of talk. My father's name was Man Who Talks, so it's only fitting. I am with my co-host, I actually have a co-host today, Minnie Katz, who has just spent the last 10 minutes admiring the beauty of my kitten. We both agree that his mother is a master artist, I guess.
She had much ink within her womb that day. to print out the patterns and the colors. Anyway.
Today's topic is actually about one of the many times someone tried to kill me.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. But this one, they actually got a little closer than most. Mostly because I ignored the problem because I didn't care.
Yeah, because, who does that? Who dies from a curse these days? Seriously.
Apparently a lot of people. I'm not kidding. A lot of people. It's just we don't acknowledge it. You can't exactly convict it in court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for when they do. But...
No. Do you know of any times that someone was convicted in court for killing somebody by curse?
Not directly, but okay.
I'm gonna look real quick. Again, according to Cora, the great oracle of know-it-alls, big and small. Outside of those jurisdictions, a person cannot be persecuted for attempting to kill someone by supernatural means. According to Cora. But that only makes sense because, those kind of accusations are accusations that straight out of the Dark Ages. Mm-hmm. I did a quick course on witchcraft in the Middle Ages, and one thing I noticed is that everybody goes, oh, well, it was always women, Actually, it was men who were chased out of magic first. They were completely crushed by it, and then when there weren't that many men left who practiced magic, they went after the women. A lot of the cases of the women were usually like neighbors who were accused because they had neighbors like mine. Yep. Somebody wanted her land, or it was a jealous husband. There is one case of a woman whose neighbors kept going after her, and she not only won both times they accused her, but she was able to go back after them and got her justice for them trying to ruin her life for no other reason than that they were just terrible neighbors. Mm-hmm. And she didn't do it by hexing. That was before, because, there is actually, you can actually track a progression of how women were oppressed the more the church got hold of the land. You can actually track it. But the quote-unquote witches were the first women to really start experiencing it. I don't remember all of my class. I can't really go any further than that. But I did find it interesting that men got hit first. Mm-hmm. Once upon a time, a woman could be a scholar. That's like that song that I like, that heaven forbid I sing it in public because everybody's decided it's about rape. There's a big argument over whether it's about rape or not, and I don't agree.
Yeah. I
don't agree because the entire song structures out a courtship and dowry, the works. Mm-hmm. She just kept telling him no is all. But then she leads him to her bed. That's not a no. Yeah. He earned her.
Yeah, without him coercing her, tricking her, or anything.
No, he just kept telling her, I'm the man for you.
Yeah, and he kept chasing her, he kept pursuing her, and she kept running, and then she ran to her bed.
She really played hard to get. Mm-hmm. But she played hard to get in a way in this song that he was expected to match her. Mm-hmm. Because if she truly didn't want him, then I'm sure, being as she was a magical scholar, she could have just said, you're gone.
Yeah.
Burst your heart, buddy. How's that feel? How's that feel? No, the version I like to sing, of course, because she keeps saying, I would rather die, she tricks him into dying. That's my version. And that was after much, much digging to find as close to the original lyrics as I could possibly find. And it's like, yeah. But did he die because he tricked her and she finally let him take her? Or did he die because it was death till death do us part? We're not medieval people. We don't know all of their metaphors. Mm-hmm. And they spoke in poetry and metaphor. You know how, we depict demons as speaking in poetry? If you go to the Chaucer Tales, it's really cool. They naturally spoke in rhyme.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing language. And I'm not supposed to be allowed to appreciate it. But what we're going to discuss today is the golden rain tree. And the reason why it's on topic is because it has to do with a shamanistic tradition. Even though what happened to me, I don't know if it was a shamanistic event. Mm-hmm. Let me see. So I went over, the last time we tried to record this, I went over way too much detail. So to skim it down, there was a whole lot going on in the house at the time between me and my husband, and we were just trying to live our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We really just wanted to pay off bills. I really wanted to build an empire and do comics, and I wasn't interested in harming anyone.
Yeah, just, minding her own business.
But people don't like that.
No, they really don't.
And I kept getting sicker and sicker, and nobody knew why. Well, now we know why. Some of it, like I went to the doctor once. I even brought up my weight because I was struggling with that and got blown off. So for all of you people out there that put down fat people how they don't want to try, I tried. I was like on what? A 1,000 calorie a day diet. I was exercising when I could. If I started to exercise and started to climb up out of the hole, I'd get struck back down again. It was messy. And
now we know why, both physically and
yeah,
non-physically.
Yeah, it was something was wrong. To be precise, it was diverticulitis, which is because I hated water. I will admit that I did that to myself. But in doing that to myself, what I did is I left myself a weakness that somebody could exploit, which is how a good hex works. Whenever I finally decided to address this, because I don't like addressing that kind of stuff. I don't know why. I don't care. When you live in and out of time the way I tend to do. Like, I'm very linear, but let's face it, what was it the other day? I got upset because no one uses betwixt. When I stopped migraining, because I was migraining that day, I realized, wait a minute, I slipped my time. And that's why you had that face that you wore that moment. You had this face. You're sitting on the couch giving me this face, and I couldn't understand it. Why is she giving me this face because of a word? Because I slipped time.
It's like, but it does get used.
Where?
In your comic.
I speak old. Anybody else? Anywhere else? We're talking about the term betwixt and between, which does rarely get used, but it's less and less. Betwixt is the proper way to say between something, like two objects, because you're betwixt and between. You can say between, and more people say between, but betwixt is the older way to do it.
Betwixt rock and a hard place.
I am betwixt. So, to sum all that up, when I finally sat down to start figuring out and doing hex breaking things, I discovered it was more than one hex. It was like 4. And so then we ended up doing some sleuthing that day. There was a hex to stop us from succeeding. There was a hex, and to keep us from rising above, because heaven forbid that we do well. There was a hex to cause strife in the home.
Yep.
I don't remember the third one. It always escapes me. It was another petty one that was causing a lot of trouble, though. It's not important. It was easily broken. Sleuthing through astrally, according to the occultic forecast. One was done by someone who had been told bullshit about us. Yeah. And when we tracked who told the bullshit, the cards indicated it was basically people who were angry that I had married their cash cow and took their cash cow away. Because my husband used to be very free with giving his money to quote-unquote friends who you'll notice are not stopped being around him when he stopped giving out money.
Yeah.
But the big one was one that I didn't give a shit about for some strange reason. I don't know, I don't care if that makes sense. There's like that's nice feeling about these kind of things. And that was and this is the way people phrased it, because I will occasionally visit this occultic forum with some really, really, really powerful magicians in it. There was multiple people coming forward to me. There's someone that has cursed your belly. That's how they put it. Someone has cursed your belly. Someone has cursed your belly. You need to know someone has cursed your belly. These people didn't know me, but they felt moved to approach me to tell me. These are people who practice black magic that are quote-unquote evil, felt moved to come forward and tell me, hey, someone's trying to hurt you, which I'm thankful for and grateful for that these people went out of their way. And so that finally at the end, days I would lay screaming. People would tell me to shut up. The ambulance people told me to shut up. What really needed to happen And we all know that our health system is broken. We can praise the health system all we want, and during the COVID crisis thing, the crisis, it was, oh, these heroes, and there were probably some that were heroes. There were heroes that stood up against that was going on, that lost their jobs. There were a lot of heroes out there during that time. But then there were the ones that wanted you to shut up because you were being inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the ones I kept coming across.
Yep.
And so no one listened to the fact that I was screaming in agony, my own husband included. And you too.
Yes.
I wonder if that wasn't part of the hex, to be honest. Because it was like I was surrounded by people who couldn't hear me. And that's kind of weird, if you think about it. That's really weird.
Yeah.
Because if I had been heard, it could have been stopped.
Yeah.
So when I finally went to the last time I went to the hospital local to my house, they actually refused to treat me.
Yeah.
I was nauseous. I was in and out. I could close my eyes, and I would be lying in my bedroom. I'd close my eyes, and I was lying in this Egyptian temple. It was very wide, very vast. You knew the walls were there. You could kind of make out the walls, but not really. It was that vast.
Yeah. And no idea why it was Egyptian.
Except maybe they were part of the hex.
Yeah.
I mean, or because I have friends in high and low places.
Yeah. So it's like, were they...
We don't know.
Yeah. Were they enemies? Were they, there because it was their job? There because they were told to be? There because, they...
Were keeping me alive and giving me time?
Yeah. Results inconclusive.
Yeah. But there was these 3 jackal-headed gods standing next to me, all male, and they were just standing there very, very stoic. We are statues.
Yep.
They were a little more like statues than anything, which could have meant that they were just tulpas, which is a creation, by the way. Tulpas are a type of astral creation that a human can create.
Yeah, be kind to your tulpas.
Please be kind to your tulpas. I have a large collection of tulpas because of people who throw them away. Poor things. These are poor things.
Anyway.
I can't help it. I feel so I have to stop and go, my poor tulpas. So that, I finally got up, and I remember hearing you yell because, no, Tim was not taking me to the hospital because he had to work. It wasn't serious or really real to you guys, I don't think. It hadn't sunk in how serious it was. And something in me said, now is the time to go. And that's why I got up and walked, because something said, now, go now. So I did, because I listen sometimes, very rarely. And I started walking to the hospital, got in there. They refused to treat me. They stuck me in the lobby. So now I know what it's like I actually intimately know what it's like to be dying, like somewhere, say a street, while people around you just walk around by you. It's a terrible feeling. And then when Tim came to pick me up that evening, yeah, they told me that nausea was not a disease. That was their excuse to not treat me. Yeah. That particular nurse that handled me didn't like me. She would shout at me when she thought no one was around and stuff during the times I went up there. I mean, it was that bad. That's how bad it is in some areas with the healthcare system, that you've got nurses who scream at you for describing your symptoms as the flu, which is, by the way, common vernacular. People say, I've got the flu. You don't shout at them for diagnosing themselves. You ask them, why do you think so? And you find out the freaking symptoms.
Yeah.
This is what I'm used to, instead of getting screamed at. She pounded the keyboard that day. She was like, it is not the flu, pound! She hated me. Yeah. Then again, she did kind of walk around that hospital with her hair in curls, trying to be a fashion show and not a nurse. Like, she had these beautiful 40s curls, like she was trying to be some sort of 40s movie star. I had to convince Tim to take me to the next hospital. We got to the next hospital, and to get my point across, I crawled on the floor, screaming, please don't turn me away. I was very dramatic, but it got the point across. Because I had been reasonably calm all the other times I went.
Aside from, the screaming agony.
Yeah, but the times that I was, it was like, I'm talking to you now. There was something wrong. Why? Because people don't appreciate it when you're not like that. But no, I was like a movie. Please don't turn me away. And I told, and I was shouting, they threw me out, they refused to treat me, and turns out I had 4 hours to live. But I had to be an overdramatic, crazy movie grade. You could write books about that event. Really turning on the acting skills as high as I could get them to get heard. And they did an emergency surgery, and it turned out that, yes, my intestines had completely burst. Now, one thing I've learned since then is that when you have problems with your intestines like that or you're dying, you hallucinate. Mm-hmm. So, why Egyptian gods of all things? I mean, was it a hallucination? I don't know, guys, because here's the thing. After I survived and I got to where I could open up a book on Egyptian mythology, I looked up these gods that you wouldn't think about, and it turns out they're a very obscure trio of brothers.
That focus on the...
They rule over the intestines.
The intestines.
Yeah. There's not much known about them beyond that. And I don't study Egyptian mythology, so it's hard to say, well, I picked that up from somewhere, because I've never heard about them in any documentaries I might have watched. I mean, most stuff I watched is like King Tut stuff, so it's like... Yeah. Yeah. Were they a hallucination?
Results inconclusive.
So, then there's the whole I was in a coma for a little while, yada. But when I started coming back to, I was still in and out of my body, so that when I closed my eyes, I would see things. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't make out the pictures at first. It was like, well, there's a wall. I'm looking at a different wall than the wall in the hospital room. Well, there's a ceiling. Well, there's this. Well, there's that. And then after a while, things would like move when I closed my eyes. It would like slowly come into focus. And finally, I realized that at one point, I was looking through the eyes of a tiny doll, and I would see these hands come at me. They were beautiful hands, nice, fat, brown, very young, youthful, plump hands from someone who was overweight.
Describe the cuticles.
Oh, yeah, I can still remember the pink of those cuticles. I will never forget her hands. That's the point of that. Mm-hmm. She had very clean nails. She kept her hands very clean. Mm-hmm. But she was working, she always worked on my belly. Always did stuff with my belly. It was terrible. Like, my recovery was a nightmare, because I would start to recover and then fall. Start to recover and then fall. It was still the same routine, to the point that a nurse came to my house and told me that I should just accept euthanasia. She actually told me that if it were her, she would rather have herself killed than be a burden on her family. Apparently I was a burden on top of everything else I had been through.
And you see, again, it's like, how much of this was the curse? But it's like, I
don't know, that one I don't think was cursed, because there's a big problem with people pushing euthanasia.
It's like, a curse doesn't even have to try to get people into that mentality.
We've got a serious broken problem with that one. I always used to say many years ago, because when they started pushing euthanasia on your pets, that they were getting us prepared to consider euthanasia for ourselves, and now we're at that stage. So it's not like it's not rocket science. All you can do is step back and take a really good look at the social trends. I don't even need my freaking anthropology degree for that. That's like common sense. All you can do is step back and look. Mm-hmm. And you don't step back and go look, oh, but the good of humanity. No, step back and look at who's getting harmed. And don't go, oh, but they were repressed because of their skin color. I am a minority. Okay, and I am telling you, don't do that. That's not how you do this. So after a while, I realized that I was looking at the person who had cursed my belly, and she was still doing it. Mm-hmm. And she was winning. Mostly because I wasn't trying. Mm-hmm. She was winning. Right about when I was about to go to the special rehab, which, by the way, was a nightmare. Mm-hmm. I was watching her work, and for whatever reason, I chose to speak to her. And I said to her, and I'm going to quote, "I'm going to get you." I don't remember if she paused. My imagination says she paused because she thought she heard something, but I don't know if that's a good memory or not. Mm-hmm. And so I said it again, and she immediately grabbed the doll, threw me into, I knew it was a shoebox, threw me into a shoebox and threw me into this like cubby so that when I closed my eyes, I could actually see like how she had put me up somewhere. The terrain of the home it was definitely an older home, probably built in the 70s or the 60s. I know this because she had me behind these glass squares that used to be the rage for decoration. They were these thick Coke bottle-like glass squares that you'd put up as wall dividers and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was behind them. So it made a nice kaleidoscope effect. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. Maybe she had a shelf back in there in another room or something. That's where she put me or whatever. But you could tell that the house was older, the furniture was older. She either inherited a home, lived with family, or didn't have a lot of money, or all three. And this is how come I can tell you she likes Star Trek, because I sat and watched her watch TV. And I watched what was on the TV.
The downside to her being successful is she kept you in a state where you weren't in your body, and you weren't completely out of your body. You were in that in between.
That might be how it works. She had to release me from the body so that my life force couldn't heal myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my logic on the matter.
Which, granted, one would be on the assumption that people would, in that situation, would think it's like, oh, it's a dream, it's a hallucination, and, be too confused and befuddled to have any way to react, let alone speak.
Yeah.
So how common that is, but obviously it's, common enough. Well, I wouldn't know if it's common enough, but it's like, she sounds like she had good operating procedures when things would go awry, which means, she actually knew what she was doing, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, she immediately removed me from the altar. I did get glimpses of the altar, and there was my birth month plant, and she had allowed it to die. I remember there was one, and it had been big when she bought it, and this was not anywhere near my birth month. So, and judging by the state of the plant, it had been there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There was other items, but I don't remember what they were now. It's been too long. But so I've always been under the impression that either she didn't know me personally and just went on what she could find. Because, things like my birth month and stuff, you're going to find that because there's people wishing me happy birthday publicly or whatever.
Yeah. There's
also the chance that she was paid.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been under the impression that she was paid. But the truth is, there was one person in my life who had those hands. And she was a piece of work. She would be all nice and sweet when no one could see her, and then she would get nasty to me in private, and I never understood why.
Mm-hmm.
She hated me for no reason. I'd never hurt nobody, ever. It's just, I'm the kind of person that gets blamed a lot, so it's one reason why I don't really interact with people anymore, because I'm tired of being blamed for other people's sins.
People don't like the truth, man.
They don't like the truth. The next day, literally 24 hours later, instead of seeing, the room and her television, because I remember watching television for a long time with her, trying to figure out what the heck, trying to get a glimpse of her.
Yeah, which episode is it? Yeah. The smart thing to do would be to focus on getting her face, and I'll admit it's like I'd be more interested in which episode is this.
I was also interested in that too, but overall I was more interested in it wasn't TOS that she was watching, by the way. It was Next Generation. When they started preaching at you a lot.
Yeah.
But the next day, instead of seeing the room and the stuff, I started seeing other things in front of me. And I don't remember everything, but the one thing I do remember are the golden flowers.
Mm-hmm.
I was covered in golden flowers. My face was just covered in golden flowers.
Yeah,
and they looked like goldenrod.
Yeah,
kind of.
Like goldenrod. What the hell?
Yeah. So I looked up the meaning of goldenrod for rituals, and it was, goldenrod's used for healing. Okay, well, she's undoing her damage. Okay. I can accept that. I'll move on, but I'll never forget her hands. And I did promise I'd get her.
Mm-hmm. Non-specific as to how, but
nah, I might just get her by tickling her. Who knows? I might have already gotten her. Who knows?
Got your nose.
I got your nose. So then I mended. Then I got better. Then I had to go through them trying to accuse me of and putting me on suicide lockdown in the fucking goddamn.
Yeah, because
that discredited me. I wasn't able to do anything about that nurse.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with me being suicidal, because I wasn't, and they knew it.
No, they wrote her off as having high anxiety, depression, and suicidal feelings, and that, again...
whenever you've got no one listening to you and you're screaming in agony, you're going to be anxious and upset.
Yeah, but anyway, they put that shit in your file to discredit you, because
I actually have a YouTube video up now about a doctor saying, giving the warning of don't tell your doctor when you're depressed because of this behavior. That's how bad it's gotten that doctors are coming forward and blowing the whistle.
Yeah.
I just happen to be one of the first to be coming forward publicly and saying it in various places, because there are good people out there, but let's face it, there's a phrase, nurses eat their young. This is why. You start out good.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's alright. So years later, I've thought about the event sometimes because I'm never going to forget her hands.
It did periodically come up. It's like, yeah, those hands, those beautiful, glorious hands.
Yeah, well, I have never called her hands glorious.
Well, slight story exaggeration.
She's
but
very
it's
good at that.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like, they can't, they would periodically come up.
No, because I'm never going to forget those hands.
Yeah.
Even after the operation, I had to reverse what had been done to me, because I had to have a reverse operation to undo the fix. Which, by the way, the anesthesia they have to use on me is so severe that I lose memories when I have those operations, which is why I won't fix the hernia.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't forgotten. I've forgotten other things, but I haven't forgotten those hands.
Yeah.
All right, fine. This happened to me. This is a glorious story. The end. I survived. Whoa, yay. Triumph music. Yeah. Rocky 4.
Yeah, moving on, with, occasional reflections of it's like, yeah, those hands.
But no, and nobody cares. I share the story and no one cares. When really we should care. We should care that the medical system failed me. Now, some of what failed me was my fault. I wanted to manage my diverticulitis because I didn't want an operation.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have managed it if I hadn't been tampered with, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
When I realized that I wasn't managing it, I actually had an appointment with the doctor the next day. Whenever things attacked finally, which means that probably the curse ramped up. If you think of how hexes work, because it knew I was about to find a way out.
Yep. They do that.
Mm-hmm. Because I had admitted to myself that no, I couldn't manage it. If I had known, or rather, if I had accepted that there was a hex and actually done something about it, and cared enough to do something, possibly things would have went different. But it was all very surreal, and I was very overwhelmed. My husband lost his job twice over this because of what people were doing. And why? We weren't harming anyone. I don't cut people off in traffic. I don't go around threatening people much.
Yeah, she just...
No, I don't go around threatening people.
No. Because,
That's just waste of energy.
Yeah. All they wanted to do was pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
The husband, just wanted to, be able to...
He wanted to be able to buy a gun once in a while. He couldn't even afford food.
Yeah, go out and play and, and it's like, yeah.
These people that, the ones that did those kind of hexes that were so-called friends, some friends, they completely lowered the quality of his life. Some friends...
Yeah, all because they were in a bitch session, and some guy that had the
power,
ability to do something, decided that he was going to be the champion for goodness or something, because clearly these people taking the bitch session at their word, her and her husband were clearly horrible people and needed to be punished.
Yeah, for living.
Yeah.
Oh,
which is,
it boggles the mind.
Yeah, which is why it's like, again, when you go do something like that, it's like, do your research and don't go off the word of a bitch session, because seriously.
Mm-hmm. But I guess another reason why I didn't care is I have led a lot of lives that I remember, and this is the shamanic tradition of my family coming through. I was raised on tales of reincarnation. And that became like a very central, important thing to me, was reincarnation, because those are some fascinating stories in people's lives. And I love the stories, which is another cultural thing for me. So that I loved it when I discovered that I had been a dog that guarded a chicken coop. It's a silly, silly story, but it's still amazingly fun. I had a fellow dog that was my best friend, and we guarded the eggs, and that was my job, and I was so proud of guarding these eggs. Mm-hmm. That was my Focus! I guard the eggs.
And the chickens. That may
No, I don't remember the chickens. I just remember the eggs.
Ah.
I guarded the eggs. Couldn't give a shit less about the birds. I guarded the eggs.
Probably a Great Pyrenees or something. Because that's it.
I looked up the shape once. Yes.
Because I've seen footage, and yeah, they will. Getting off topic, but it's like
it's confirmed.
But it's like, especially if they have more than one. Their job is to guard the eggs. The other job is, it's like, these are my chickens. I guard my chickens. You will not mess with my chickens. No.
But no, I guarded the eggs.
Yeah, and
maybe my companion guarded the chickens, but
yeah,
I stayed by the nursery.
Yeah. There was footage of one. And her job clearly was whenever I don't know if it was pig specifically, but whenever a pig or an animal went into labor, she guarded the mother and she guarded the baby. No one was allowed, not any of the other guardian dogs, no one was allowed except for the owner specifically. No one was allowed near those babies or that mother.
Good dog.
And it's like, yes, that's their job. It's like, yes, these are my babies. I protect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just it. And I've had other interesting lives. Like, there was this one time that I died on a hill in a battle. The one I remember the most about that one, I really fucking hated my nose guard. I died hating my nose guard. I died hating that nose guard.
Which, quite honestly, it's like, that's a legit detail.
Yeah, I didn't,
Your nose was probably itchy.
I'm sensitive about stuff on my face, and that's why, by the way, I tracked that feeling down to that nose guard.
Goddamn nose guard! God damn it! And they didn't actually really do anything.
I just do it. I rub my nose now. And it is my opinion that everybody has led a big life.
Mm-hmm. Whether you remember it or not.
Yes. There's the one on the high seas that we won't necessarily reveal here because people won't believe it for starters, and I'm comfortable just knowing it was there. There's the other one marching across the land that, again, people don't believe.
But who hasn't marched again across the land?
Well, a lot of people marched across the land on that one. There was my elephant.
Mm-hmm. I was getting ready to say, it's like
my
elephant.
Poor elephant.
Yeah.
He fell down a ravine. I still remember his trumpet. My poor elephant. And I have lives over here. So, I mean, the fact that I'm Native American should not stop me from having been other places, to be quite honest.
Very well traveled.
I'm well traveled because, I don't know.
Very worldly.
I don't really want to go into the art of reincarnating into a body and getting into the right one because that would be a totally different podcast.
Yeah.
So, the golden flowers, blah, blah, blah. Let's segue to today. We're going to step forward in time now. Or in time today. I like watching K-dramas.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be specific. I noticed a trend in K-dramas to try to modernize them into more of American modern, with lots of sex and gore, and I like the simple ones where everybody's old-fashioned and holding hands is a big deal, and the romantic comedy, innocent, please don't overwhelm me with your fucking sex. I just tell me a story.
Cherry
blossoms, things like that. The Korean culture is neat, and sometimes there's things I blink on. Well, that's so very Native American of them, because culture does repeat some stuff across the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some stuff in their culture I actually relate to, which is probably why I enjoy their stories, because there's things in there I can relate to. And the Native American stories I've come across usually are centered on the plight of being on the reservation and being oppressed and the bad things, and being as I've lived some of that, I didn't grow on the res, but I've still lived some of that. Why would I want to revisit it?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching one that's a historic. It was, I was relating to it because it was about two people who in their past lives and they were getting together and everything. And one thing happened is the shaman in the story was being punished for what someone else did, and they threw her in a well, and then the king said, bind her with the golden rain tree. And in that moment, I immediately knew what the golden rain tree looked like, and everything in me froze. I stopped the show. I was on a 3-day marathon. I was not going to sleep until I finished the show.
Mm-hmm.
I had told myself this. I did fall asleep a couple of times, but I was determined I was going to watch the show. And looked up the golden rain tree, and there were the blossoms.
Mm-hmm.
Then I called Rebecca in shock and surprise that this would come up. This is where we segue to, when I was very small, my spirits came to me and offered me the world on, quote, a golden platter, and I said, no, just give me the truth, because I was stupid. I really should have just taken the world on the golden platter, but whatever.
That's why she's not really popular, because truth...
Nobody likes the truth.
No.
I mean, I'm not perfect at the truth. I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But the truth does have a way of coming to me, which is really what I'd asked for.
Oh, yeah.
And it can take 5 minutes, it can take 5 years, it can take 50. It might take 500, but the truth is going to come to me.
Oh, yeah, and that also includes, you know, the little quote-unquote white lies and the harmless lies. Those are the worst, because those are the most...
they're manipulative.
Yeah, they're manipulative, and they're also the most common, free-form that, you know, no one really thinks too much about them, or as lying, or as being any kind of serious. Well, you know, they don't have to spend their time interacting with a little truth stabber. And it's like...
my sword's name is Truth. It is very shiny and double-edged.
And it's, yes, and it is stabbity. I get stabbed with it very many times. There are, and it's like, oh no, it's all for little things. It's like, no, there have been serious things that were life, limb, eyesight, and way of life. I will admit that. But it's the little ones, the little teeny tiny cuts that add up.
The thing about those kind of little white lies is, one, they're a complete lack of respect.
Yeah.
They manipulate. That makes them particularly insidious.
Yeah, and again...
a big lie is bad, too.
Yeah.
And you might have a reason to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, they say sometimes you've got a good reason to lie, and perhaps this is so. But if that's the case, I'm probably not going to kick at it as hard as, say, the person who tells me that was not financial infidelity when they were lying about their paycheck. And it made me have to continuously borrow money to pay the bills for my friends.
Yeah.
I did nothing wrong, you know. I don't understand why you're mad at me. And then they continuously go to every other reason around the fact that I'm just really upset that you disrespected me by lying to me.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to admit that you're a liar. And I'm not saying I never lie. I've been cornered. Like when I was one of the last times I was on set, I got confronted by the director over something I'd said in the chat, because I had asked, where's the meeting place, because they had called it something I wasn't familiar with, and it was the normal meeting place, but they had used different phrasing, so I was confused. And I asked, where are we going? But I was dealing with that on set pettiness from people that you get in Hollywood. And so nobody would answer me. So I thought that the meeting had been canceled. And so I said, well, I guess I'll see you guys later. And so I got confronted by the director. He just completely got in my face that I had publicly said this thing that made the protection look bad. And what it really was is nobody was being a team player. Mm-hmm. And I found myself lying. It was a complete instinctive reaction. And I would have liked to not have lied.
Yeah,
We all have our moments.
Yeah, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's like, identify it as a knee-jerk reaction and... try
to get better.
Yeah.
You know. So then I started looking for the Golden Rain Tree meaning and exactly what it means in Korean shamanism specifically, because that's how I learned about it from.
Mm-hmm. And the information turns out to be very hard to find.
Yes and no. I mean, it's hard to find if you go straight Google these days, because let's face it, other people have more luck with Google than I do. It actually has been tracked. I have gotten on the phone with Silvercat, mm-hmm. with my friend Silvercat. She and I have plugged in the exact same search terms.
Mm-hmm.
I got kittens and puppies and things nothing to do with the topic, and she got the answer. Mm-hmm.
There's no algorithm.
No, not at all. People acknowledge algorithms real these days. So this is what I have found out about the Golden Rain Tree and why it most likely applies to this case. First off, It is an invasive plant from the east. If you plant it, do be careful and be prepared to prune a lot because it will put up shoots and take over your yard. Mm-hmm. It's very pretty. It's considered favored by the great king of dragons, great and small.
Great and small.
Great and small.
Long may he reign. And
I am saying this because we have both encountered this guy who has slammed his scaly hand on the table and insisted that his title is the king of all dragons, great and small.
The inflection is important. Great and small.
No, great and small.
Great and small. Sorry, I got the inflection wrong.
He was just making a point.
Yes.
The king of all dragons, great and small. And it's really cool about him because he was giving her sex lessons.
Yeah.
Of all things for the king of all dragons, great and small, to bug you about it.
Yeah, and it was...
He was giving her sex positions advice.
Yeah. Sexual advice and lessons that I didn't ask for a species that he wasn't even of. And he wasn't even getting it accurate. Like, well, this is what I did, and, it worked. It worked.
What's really interesting about that is in my comic book world, I was actually writing out the mating habits of one of the alien species that he happened to be touching upon. So it was really nice of him to go through the effort, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, so he was giving me a visual
He went to her. Couldn't he have given it to me? I'm the one writing the story. I guess teaching your daughter-in-law sex positions is going too far, even for the king of dragons, great and small.
But, yeah, she'll get the information. Just here. Tell her I said hi.
I'm sorry, I'm never gonna get over you poor beleaguered thing between getting told about llama habits in your visions.
Oh my gosh. It was a 30-second clip from one of those Animal Planet shows, and they were going over llamas, and one was a llama breeding farm. It was guy needed to confirm whether or not his llama call girl was pregnant or not. And so then the night I went to sleep, I got to see the clips running in my head because it's like, oh, llama breeding. Is there any clips with the llama sex? It's like, no, it was a family show, sorry.
You poor thing.
So, yeah.
Actually, you get the more entertaining visions because when I'm visited like that, it's usually there's this problem in this sector. So you're actually quite lucky. You get the more colorful things.
Yeah, and it's like the llama one happened.
That was years ago.
Yeah, it happened. Can't remember the place where people who want to join the military go to pretty much
recruiting office.
No, not the recruiting office. This was after the recruiting office, where you pretty much spend 2 days in this med center getting poked, prodded, weighed, and calculated and everything. So,
but anyway, back to the golden ring tree,
which is a sacred plant.
Which is a sacred plant. It's to the dragons, which I find really interesting. So the celestial serpents like their golden ring tree. It also is a symbol of wealth because the flowers represent golden coins and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They're apparently scientifically known as Cola Rutaria paniculata. I took Latin. Can I say it? No. Named for its abundant clusters of bright yellow flowers, which, when they fall, resemble a shower of golden rain. It's native to Asia. It's planted as an ornamental tree due to its showy blossoms. Oh, it puts out a fruit. Unique, papery, bladder-like seed pods that turn from green to brown, sometimes likened to Chinese lanterns, which I wouldn't mind seeing that. That sounds neat. Often associated with prosperity and abundance due to its golden flowers resembling coins. Mm-hmm. However, on the dark side, the more suppressed information is that it is used for binding in the Korean shamanistic traditions. To segue into that particular section, I need to say that Korean shamans have been under the gun a lot, especially as the church started becoming the power in Korea, as happens when
Yeah,
a religion takes over.
Yeah, you mentioned of the media has it's like the bumbling. Yeah, either
they're bumbling, or they're charlatans, or they're cowards.
Yeah, and the Catholic priest exorcist is always more serious and more powerful.
And yet, I've also noticed a trend with the main protagonist having had shaman blood somehow, or shaman gift, or had died and had the shaman power of seeing ghosts or whatever, and they become the hero because of this shaman skill.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be a shaman, because then you're just going to negate any ability to be the hero.
Mm-hmm.
That possibly is to make the main protagonist relatable to the average person.
Mm-hmm.
Being as most of the stories I watch are Chaibol, because, or I don't know how to pronounce the word. It's spelled in English. Chaibol is probably something else. Where basically they're modern day princes and princesses. They're not average to start with, so whatever. But yeah, these trees are used in binding. To be precise, power binding, protection against malevolent magic, and counteracting curses. So when we assess what happened, she heard me say her the second time and knew that she wasn't imagining it. Acted swiftly. Within 24 hours, was putting down the golden rain tree. I'm pretty sure it was the golden rain tree at this point now. So we're going on my assumption that it was the golden rain tree at this point.
No, she's not dumb, not an idiot.
No, but she did do this thing. For these three reasons. Was it for one of the reasons or all three?
Mm-hmm.
Did she counteract the curse because she realized she'd went too far? But let's face it, magically, and you watched it, I went to sleep for a while. Mm-hmm. Now, I always knew from when I was little that when my dad died, this shit would hit the fan. Because I actually, growing up, when I was in my teens, realized that I had been bound. First, I thought it was my brother, confronted him, told him to release me, and he said, and I'm going to quote, "No, you're too powerful." This was teenage drama.
Yeah.
We'll take that phrase with a big block of salt, to be quite honest.
Not an entire ocean.
Was it, no, you're too powerful, or no, you're my sibling and we're doing a sibling rivalry and I'm an asshole? I mean, seriously. I did go to Dad and tried to be reasonable with him like a mature adult. And I said things to him like, how can I go out and learn to live in the world if you won't let me? And he very, very firmly said, no, I was not going to get free. And I knew that, actually my spirits told me, or whoever I speak, I don't know if they're spirits or instincts or split personalities or what. I knew on some, on that level that it would not hold, because there would come a day that his body couldn't hold him anymore, and then I would be free. Now, I actually expected it sooner than as long as he lasted, but let's face it, when you're spending a lot of your energy keeping your parents alive, they will survive a little longer than usual. Dad passed away, is it 2-3 years ago now? It's been a few years. Mm-hmm. And the shit hit the fan.
Yep.
And it was a little overwhelming at first. And I knew it would be. I knew it would be overwhelming. It wasn't as overwhelming as I expected it to be. Like, I expected a whiplash magic. Now my neck is crooked forever magically because it was just that strong. And now I'm going to have my own movie and Merlin's going to come and bow at my feet. And
no,
Jafar is my puppy.
Yeah, but no, you and your husband were out in the field.
Yeah, I was working.
Yeah, at a festival and set up in tents, and this huge ass storm came in.
It was a freak storm.
I only saw the aftermath, and it was
took out over half the camp.
Yeah, it was a squall.
It was a squall that we weathered through. Mm-hmm. And that was the hour that Dad died. It hit us specifically. Mm-hmm. Now, I will often say it was Dad being pissed off that I didn't come to him because he wanted me to come, but I couldn't. I was working. I had been told my whole life how lazy I was and how worthless I was and how I didn't take work seriously, yada, 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 yada. And even if I had left right then, I wouldn't have made it to him before he died. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, for a while there, I was doing that typical guilt of not leaving work for your parents thing that you go through. But now I look back on it, I'm like, no, I wouldn't have made it. Mm-hmm. I needed to hang in there. Besides, I had been told how worthless I was. Imagine if I had left. It just been reinforcing that.
Yeah.
It was damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Yeah.
It could have been Dad being pissed, but I don't think it was, because he did come to me afterwards, and the energy of when he came to me afterwards was different than that squall.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it was the hex breaking and the bindings breaking, but it might have been the bindings breaking. It's just the events are very circumstantial, as happens with shamanistic magic.
Yeah, very, very, it's like, what a coincidence.
Nice coincidence.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. I'm telling you, man, we need to do a movie on this shit. And then things started opening up after that. First I had to get past the funeral and the family abuse and the crap that, and get past all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really started looking at things and opening up the channels again until, the past year.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't happen like I expected. I expected it to be an overnight, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going crazy. It has happened very gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
But it has happened. There's no getting around it. I do find it interesting that for years people were like, you really need to go and look into shamanism. You really need to look into shamanism. And there's a thing, where you don't want to.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got these white people telling you to do this thing. Shamanism, mostly that we think of Mongolian shamanism, to be precise. The word for a Native American medicine person is not shaman. I'm just using that for convenience sake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, now I'm awake and aware, and we're back at the Golden Rain Tree. So my question currently is, when Dad and when the family bindings on me broke, did the Golden Rain Tree break? Well, I could probably examine myself and find out, but I think I would rather instead break it, just to be on the safe side. I mean, better safe than sorry. I took a shower this morning, I went and took a long walk, I'll just take a shower again type situation.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3, to get back to that, there are 3 rituals that Korean shamans will do, and I cannot pronounce them. So I'm not going to say them properly. There's the Jinugui Gut. That's for death-related rituals,
mm-hmm.
to bind wandering spirits and prevent the dead from influencing the living. I wasn't dead yet.
Yet.
There's the Byeolsang Protection. In the tradition of Byeolsang shamanism, so I'm guessing from the information I found that's a specific branch. I could be wrong. There's not really much out there easily found about Korean shamanism.
Mm-hmm.
And I have reached out to one shaman who never responded to get some answers. So sadly, if I'm mangling stuff, it isn't from lack of trying.
Yeah.
And this other one I found had those hands. So she did not get reached out to. Golden Rain Tree parts are used specifically to create boundaries between worlds. So when a practitioner realizes someone can see through the veil, they might use the Golden Rain tree to close the door, which makes sense. See, that one makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Momju restriction. Mudang, which is the proper term for shamanism mispronounced, use Golden Rain to restrict what they call Momju, a person's body governing spirit or personal power. Could have been she was doing at least 2 of those.
And when, a plastic or cloth doll starts telling you point blank, I'm gonna get you.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Apparently, I am told, it's not common for your effigy to threaten you or you're trying to kill the person it represents.
Of course, the theory that's going on here is it's very likely that a good chunk of people who are being targeted that way, it's like, again, you never think it's a curse, even when it's happening. And so it's like, yeah, you have strange dreams, strange sensations. So it's like, how many people are actually going to think it's like, oh, hey, I can talk through this. I can take. Well,
we're not taught to think that.
Yeah, essentially.
But I had experience with remote viewing. There's the difference.
Yeah.
I chose the fact that I already knew that I could communicate this way to communicate.
Yeah.
But most people are not going to think that way. That doesn't make me extra special powerful.
No.
Although that would be fun.
No, it's like I had a long time ago when I was young, cute, and more mentally unstable, but we won't talk about that. People in work were talking about this guy, he got into lucid dreaming, and it was, the coolest thing ever, because it's like, he was dreaming in color, he was, able to interact with his dream and do stuff, and he was pretty much saying, it's like, you don't do that normally, because it's like
it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you know there's people out there that literally cannot visualize? They literally cannot visualize.
No,
and it's a surprise to them to learn that other people can.
Yeah.
And it's a surprise to us to learn that they can't. And there's a name for it. It was considered rare, but it's actually come out that it's more common than you think. I was watching a YouTube video about that the other day. And that was really interesting, because to be able to do things like remote view and stuff, you need that visualization muscle. Your imagination that we are having pounded out of us and don't realize it through the media and video games. We are being imaginative less and less. There are seminars on how to write a successful story, and they hand you a formula, which is why all of our freaking stories are the same thing. We've got this rising person, they go through all this trauma, then somebody dies, but don't worry about it, they're going to come back to life, Disney, and it's all good, and it's the same formula over and over again. That is not imaginative.
Point is, it's like, people are making make it sound like, this is unusual or something that, is an indicator of great power. And really all it is a lot of people just don't
have it.
Yeah,
they weren't handed the tool.
Or they don't think about it.
So yes, if you find yourself in the position where you're looking out through a freaking Barbie doll on an altar of the person who's trying to kill you, you can talk to them, if and if you're not sure, how, go learn a remote view a little bit. You'll figure it out. You just gotta get those muscles going. I mean, and then that reveals alone I wasn't completely bound because I could remote view. Mind you, my remote viewings were very hazy and vague, and I've always had to rely on you guys as kind of like crystal balls. And I found ways around the crippling.
Yeah.
It's much more fun, too, when you've got people to play with. It's much more fun.
Yeah, that's also a thing. It's like, you're bound. It's like you're crippled. There's nothing you can do. And it's like, and how many people go, it's like, oh, yeah, watch this.
Hold my bear.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, no, people who have mobility issues, bound in wheelchairs and stuff.
They find ways.
Yeah, it's like, they do it. Yeah, it's like, hold my beer.
Magic will find a way.
Yeah. It's like, how can you do that? It's like, you can't, even control your body. It's like, because
I'm alive. One thing about the golden rain tree, though, it had, what was it? It was something to do with the intestines that made me really, really raise my eyebrows. Well, okay, I did find a reference that the golden rain tree had something to do with bindings and something about magic dealing with the intestines, and that's interesting as well. This person knew exactly what she was hexing. She knew where she was hexing, and she used a plant that was associated with it to either reverse things or block things or stop things. But you'll notice the hex stopped, too. All I had to do the whole time was let her know I was going to come get her. Now, here's the thing about that. I probably, because I'm not powerful the way I was treated, really.
No, she's not. You're very well connected.
I'm very well connected.
And the thing
is, was I really that powerful and I was just bound, and so I've been trained into thinking I'm not powerful, and then I'm going to discover I'm really powerful, or am I just not powerful? I don't know if I care to find out. That, because I'm much more centered on telling my stories and making my music, and
things, when they have a tendency to end up taking care of themselves, and it's like,
I like karma.
Yeah.
Karma's the lazy way out.
It's like, okay, you gotta make me cry. It's like, okay, I'll cry. There's things that don't really appreciate that.
No, there aren't. But to get to her, to analyze her actions because I was told, well, she probably recognized how powerful you were. Maybe she just realized that there was something unusual here and it could be dangerous, it could be not, and she acted accordingly.
I think it when you're in a profession to do something like that, and something like that happens, it's a standard operating procedure.
Abort.
Yeah.
But another thing that people don't consider is that if she had succeeded in killing me or even binding me while I was alive, the body was going to release me. What was she going to do then?
Yeah, that's something that people don't take into consideration.
I can bind that spirit when it comes at me. Can you? Is this a sure thing? The spirit that had enough brains to let you know that she could see you while you were doing the act through spell work?
And it's like, oh, but my bindings are so powerful, and it's like, yeah, and it's like, ah.
But I think that's the beauty about that part is, when I was because we used to have this remote viewing group online. It was before you came along, and the whole point was to play. We would just pick a different target, and we would just get together and play, and it was a lot of fun. We went to all these different places, and what quickly came out was if they couldn't get into a place, I would just get them through the wall. Because if there's one thing I can get through, it's a fucking shield. I know how to get through shields. I'm not going to tell you how.
No.
That would be stupid.
Yeah.
But there was this one time, because some of the players weren't the best of people, shall we say. One of them's dads worked for, he was an agent. And they decided to take me to this place, and we went way out in space, and there's this place out there. And it was the very first time in my entire life that I could not get past a shield. I couldn't even get close. Yep. It would pulsate and push me back, pulsate and push me back, Now I know why. It took me a while, but I figured out why. And they got me through. So you're going to get through. When I got inside, it turned out that on the inside was a version of me from a completely different time, and I almost died because singular anomalies cannot duplicate. That was scary. That was probably the only time I've ever been scared remote viewing. Even the time when I went out to... Because I remote viewed out to Jupiter once, was there, and that Hex...
I thought that's Saturn.
Was it Saturn?
Yeah.
The one, okay.
Saturn, yeah, Saturn's the
one with the Hex.
Yeah.
That's not Jupiter?
No, Saturn.
It is Saturn? The one with the Hex storm. It was so powerful.
Oh, wait. Yeah, it has that.
No, it's Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
No, wait. It might be Saturn.
Yeah.
I get them confused. All them planets look alike to me.
Yeah, Jupiter has...
No, Jupiter has a hexagon.
Okay.
They both have a hexagon.
Huh. Okay.
Both Jupiter and Saturn have hexagons. 3 equilateral triangles equidistant and equal size as the center of their storm. I'm pretty sure I went to Jupiter that day because Jupiter's the one with the rings.
No, Jupiter, Saturn has the rings. Jupiter has the moons.
Jupiter has a ring. Yes.
Ah.
Okay, I'm confused. I accept my confusion. Whichever one it was, it's one that people are blaming for shaping our matrix around us. And so I went to it. And I'm flying around and I'm playing with the rings, and I might have been doing a few things because I do. The gravity on that thing, even astrally, was so strong that when I quit what I was doing and I came back completely to focus on what was happening around me in the physical world, I was panting and sweating. So you can really be affected by this.
Yeah.
But I wasn't scared.
No.
I just didn't go any closer than the outer ring. Because any closer might have sucked me in. I don't know what would have happened. I could have probably snapped back and,
Maybe, but why take that chance when you don't
I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I knew not to do it. So therefore, something in me said, danger, danger, Will Robinson, and I didn't do it. You can affect things. You can be affected.
Yeah, you really want to put that gamble that you just happen to know the one that could possibly...
Maybe she could have.
Maybe
she could have, but the body
zero.
was not going to hold me. I was in and out at that point.
Yeah.
And would she, because it's clear that she depended on ritual, would she have been able to set up her ritual fast enough? There's a gamble with this. Chances are really high that I would have got out, because I have gotten out a couple of times and just took off, because I didn't want to be here.
Yeah, and it doesn't have anything to do with strength or power. It has everything to do that
speed.
Yeah, speed, and you know what? Yeah, and you know what? You know what to do, and also speed.
Yeah,
it's like you're slow. Said you know.
But we got to give her credit. She clearly works hard at her craft.
Mm-hmm.
She clearly does a hell of a lot more studying than my lazy ass is gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
She clearly is skilled.
Yeah,
and definitely dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to have been doing this long enough for that large plant to be that dried, she had been at it for a while, and I had been sick a while. And she was doing her actions every day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't know if she was doing actions every day because she knew that she was reaching the end of her goal to get her goal, and so she was really pushing through, or if she had been doing it every day for quite some time. But either which way, that's more work than I'm going to put into it.
Yeah.
I'm the class clown. What do you want from me?
Yeah, and again, when things started to go awry at whatever
she aborted.
Yeah,
but examining her actions beyond that, you know, there's a lot of work and effort, and it's just it completely screams that she was paid.
Mm-hmm.
The whole event screams she was paid to do it. You've got to be beyond Trump derangement syndrome to go through the effort she was taking on a personal basis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even kidding. I mean, either something's seriously wrong with you to do that, if you know somebody personally to act like that, or you've been paid. This is the way I see it.
Yeah.
You know, or because you think it's fun. A serial killer would... I'm sorry, but I think there might be magical serial killers out there.
Yeah,
some of the conversations I've seen in that magical forum... I think there's people out there that are magical serial killers.
Yeah, and you just happen to catch the eye of
the wrong person.
Yeah.
I was the right type.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she looks easy.
Yeah.
She has friends because she treats everything as well as she can. You know,
all the way down to the lowest of low.
Great and small. Great and small. Great and small. And the small ones are probably more important than the great ones, and on so many scales. So let's say that, you know, to the point of this with the golden rain tree, let's say that you find yourself bound by golden flowers up your eyeballs. I will not tell you what to do about it. Because I don't appreciate having spent my entire life bound by people who may or may not have meant well, but it was not well in the end. What they did was wrong. I should have been allowed to flourish. I should have been allowed to grow. I should have been allowed to make my mistakes. And God knows what I would have become. Maybe I would have become a crazy lady in a box on the street. Because, you know, the Thelemites say that there's this abyss you cross at a certain age, and if you don't manage crossing it, you're going to be crazy. Or I might have become the greatest magician of this generation. I was very devout about learning back in those days. I was all about it. I had reams and reams of herbal lore I had recorded, and you weren't there for this. I mean, books and books and books. And turns out it was all family tradition I was automatically following because it's tradition in the family. And I was the one to take it up. Dad might have took it up when he was younger, but survival. And in my case, it was people stepping on me. And I'm not blaming them. It's just... this is the way it went.
Yeah.
You know, this shit happens. So if you find yourself in this situation, first off, unless you are Ted Bundy, I don't see the reason for it. You know, I really don't. Well, this person can hurt themselves. How about instead of holding them back because it's going to come up and hurt things and people later if you don't, you teach them how to be what they are instead. That is the healthy way to do it. So my first instinct was to somehow get hands on the flower and to, in my own shamanistic way, I'm not a shaman, my own shamanistic way, burn the flowers and thus burn away the binding if it's still there. I am currently going to be trying to get a hold of some flowers because my instincts say this is the right approach. But there are other ways to break a binding on you. One of my favorites is you pluck one of your hairs, which I'm probably not going to do in this day and age because I don't have much hair left. Pluck one of your hairs, you get a white candle, you can put it in a bowl of water. So you take a bowl of water, you put the candle in the bowl of water, make it where the candle's not going to fall over, because you want the candle actually in the water, not in a container in the water. And then you light the candle and you take your hair, you put it between two fingers, or two, you know, one hand to the other, and you break the hair over the flame. That breaks the bindings on you. It's very effective. It's the most simple way, and I've seen a lot of people try to break bindings, and there's just something about that little act that works the best. Mm-hmm. It's a very powerful one that was taught to me by someone a long time ago. Decording cleansing. There's a decording ritual you can do where, because humans automatically attach to each other, and that's apparently called cording, we are meant to be connected. So we automatically connect to each other. So when you're taking a shower or a bath, you just kind of visualize rubbing your hands along your body. You actually rub your hands along your body because the physical action helps you center it. But you are rubbing your hands along your skin, and what you're doing is you're breaking off the barnacles, so to speak, the cords. You're completely detaching connections. And you want to touch everywhere. You want to touch the back of your neck. You want to touch your eyeballs. You want to touch the backs of your ears. You want to touch between your legs. You want to touch your nether parts. You do not want to leave any place untouched when you're bathing.
The bottoms of your feet, the areas between your toes.
Your nostrils. Yes. Hair. Visualize touching inside your scalp, inside your body. To break all of these cords and bindings, but that also, when you're visualizing it, you're brushing away the cords and the bindings. It's something that you can do every time you take a bath, so you can always be free, or you can do it once a month or whatever. It's a very good thing to do. Plus, it's a good way to recenter your spiritual being and bring yourself back into focus. It is definitely in my opinion, necessary bit of self-care to do that just because. Even if you're not bound, it's just a good thing to do. It also makes you more aware of yourself. So it's a really good grounding and centering ritual. You can do counterbinding work, apparently. You can use protective herbs. I've got a short list here of black cohosh, angelica root, and protective stones, so you can take the more modern, I don't want to call that white lighterism, New Age? I guess it would be New Age. The more New Age approach, make yourself a ritual, burn these plants with incense, and go through a freedom ritual, so to speak, and do what you feel is right to set yourself free. That was actually how I started doing stuff, was through that kind of work with stones and stuff. I like stones. Stones are great. There's a really cool story I've got about a stone in a house with my dad. I'll tell someday. I already did the cord cutting visualization on the list. With the cleansing rituals, you can also use salt baths. You can use smoke, sage. A lot of people will use sage. Sage is really good. There's other properties that are claimed to be scientific for using sage to lower bad energies in the house, chase away bad spirits, stuff like that. I have had actually someone sage me because she decided I was evil because her friend told her I was. This was after babysitting her kids for free for months. That's gratitude for you. Mm-hmm. And then when you get free, you can set up protective barriers. So you basically set up a protective barrier to prevent someone doing that to you again. What I personally am probably going to do, and actually have been doing since I was 14, except when I forget to do it and I get lazy and I stop doing it, is you basically, in your mind, set this default of, I am surrounded by a protective bubble. This is my bubble. You cannot get past this shield. It is my bubble. People think, okay, I've got this bubble. I'm going to make it hard as rocks and yada, yada, yada. I like to be creative. My bubbles are made of flypaper. My bubbles are made of grease. My bubbles are oily and slick and will make things slide off. I want you to go away.
Be gone.
When you hit me, I want I want it to go boing and have your tomahawk come flying back at you in your face.
Yep.
And that's what you get.
Yeah.
Your bubble does not have to be like some sort of Star Trek shield to just take an impact and everything shatters and, no. It can also be an offense.
Yeah.
So these are good ways to get out of the mess that someone else has put you into. And it's also a good way to prevent it so that they can't do it to you again. And possibly even if you build your shields right, teach them a lesson for trying to harm you. Mm-hmm. Also, thinking like that, if someone who is bound for true reasons comes at you, they can't come at you easily because you have put up the stuff. That's how you get out of it, some of the ways. I'm sure there are other ways, but these are the ways that I just know off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. But I will stand by the candle one. It's a really good one. Mm-hmm. Why are we standing? To wrap up with this, the golden ray tree information turns out is very, very, very hidden. Mm-hmm. Very suppressed, probably because it is tied to the shamanistic practices from over there, and there has been a lot of people shutting down avenues, which I agree with, but I don't. Because the more we let the dividing lines of, well, you're not one of us, so you can't learn about this, and we don't want anybody knowing about this, the more we lose the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The Korean shamans are under the gun a lot. You don't remember telling me that you had found that they were all extinct. And that there are no shamans left.
No, I don't.
But you had told me this, and I'm like, au contraire, I found one. But I did find articles about how there's not many left. And I found articles talking about how they are definitely persecuted. If their knowledge is not put out, then we're going to lose it. Yeah. It'll be gone. So I don't agree with this hiding of knowledge thing. It's the hidden knowledge, the secrets, the mysteries, The mysteries aren't supposed to be the mysteries because we're hoarding the knowledge. The mysteries are supposed to be the mysteries because it's up to you to find it. Mm-hmm. Which is why it's a mystery, not a taboo.
Yeah. And in order for it to be a mystery for you to find, it has to be somewhere to find it.
And in a way to unravel. So I guess the biggest point of this particular episode is, hey, there's this information out there and I have personally went through it. And it is kind of interesting that even though the person that was practicing, when you look at what she was doing, I don't think she was doing shamanistic tradition completely. Mm-hmm. I mean, that altar and everything she had, I don't know, it might have been shamanistic. I can't say. Mm-hmm. I can't say. But the Golden Rain Tree is definitely a shamanistic tradition. There are magicians out there who grab information from all lower chaos magicians. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what she is. We don't. But it is interesting that this shamanistic thing touched the person who's doing a shamanistic podcast. Mm-hmm. So to sum up, I got to experience being bound by possibly the Golden Rain Tree, just like in the movies. I got to survive this event, just like in the movies. Where's my royalty check? I got to be bound just like in the movies. But not like in the movies. I'm not coming back after being unbound to take over the world and turn everyone into zombies.
Or lizards.
Everybody's already lizards with their little lizard brains.
Where's my lizard tail and where's my lizard tongue then?
Well, then go get it operated on and put in. There are operations now. People are actually having themselves cosmetically changed to look like lizards these days. Yay. Hey, that's their thing.
Yeah, I'm saying it's like, yeah, that's
not for you.
Not really sanitary. And this is me saying it's like, yeah, that's not sanitary.
How do you know? I mean, the photos I've seen of these people, they seem awful clean. They just don't look like you and me anymore because they had themselves changed.
Oh, I was talking about the areas where the procedures are done, but yeah.
So through this, I now have hopefully imparted that yes, if someone binds you, you can get out of it. And yes, if someone's trying to hurt you this way, you can still say something at the very least, and you can still possibly even stop it. Just don't do like me. Well, I'm timeless. I'll just die in this body and come back as a sheep. Whatever.
Delicious sheep.
Oh, well, I won't be coming back as a sheep because she will be all about the mutton if I do. And so I think that's a good way to wrap this particular episode up. I hope that you enjoyed listening to us be very silly about a very serious topic. And I do want to finalize with that if for the Korean shamans out there, you have my respect. From what little bit I have seen of your rituals by actually looking beyond the K-dramas, I actually find your religion very beautiful. We did look into the gods briefly when we were researching the Golden Rain Tree, and I am very, very amused that one of your gods is related to the king of all dragons, great and small! We haven't quite identified if he is the king of all dragons, great and small. Some of you are probably going, well, who is this king of all dragons, great and small? That is a podcast for another day. I and my celestial spirits and my cats and my Coast mini cats are now going to sign off, and I hope that you gathered some information from, well, our ramblings. I will hopefully hear from you next time. I'm hanging up now and stuff.